Welcome back to 101 Sports. The NHL season is in full swing and the trade deadline is right around the corner. So it's time for me to play a little matchmaker. In order to do this, we have to identify who are the buyers and who are the sellers this trade deadline. First, let's look at the buyers, all right? My first buyer team we got to look at is the Boston Bruins. This team desperately needs a third line scoring forward along with the top four defensemen. That's exactly what this team needs heading into the trade deadline. Now, number two is the Montreal Canadiens. This is a very talented but young team. They're going to need a veteran forward presence to bring into that locker room. They're going to need someone who can help the young kids come playoff time. Now, the third team I want to look at is the Vancouver Canucks. This team has lacked grit and leadership for years now. They need to add someone who's going to make this team tougher. Hey, we've looked at the buyers. Now it's time to see who the sellers are. Who are these teams going to trade from? First team we got to look at is the New York Islanders. Now, I understand they're close to the playoff berth right now, but let's face it, even if they make the playoffs, they're not going to go far. They should be sellers. My next team, the Dallas Stars. Listen, the Stars have been horrendous this entire season. It's time for them to start selling off players. Now, another team, the Buffalo Sabres. Fired Lindy Ruff at the beginning of the year, tried to spark this team. Clearly, that has not worked. This team needs to start selling pieces and selling pieces fast, okay? Now listen, we've identified the buyers. We've identified the sellers. It's now time for the fun. It's time to make some trades. Now, my first trade is with the Boston Bruins and the New York Islanders. In this trade, the Boston Bruins receive Mark Streit. Now, Streit is important to this team because their power play has been horrendous. Now, Mark Streit last year alone had 23 points on the power play. This is someone who can come in and man the blue line right away. That's a big thing for the Bruins. And also, they need someone to play with young Dougie Hamilton, who's a great offensive player, but right now, a little bit of a defensive liability. They need another veteran to bring in to play next to him. Now, why should the Islanders trade away their captain? Well, basically, they need to trade away the captain because they're in contract negotiation talks with him right now. If they can't lock him up beyond this year, he's an unrestricted free agent. You have to move him and get back whatever you can for him. Don't let him walk without getting anything. He's too important to that team. Now, that's trade number one. We're just getting started. Looking at trade number two, we got the Montreal Canadiens and the Dallas Stars. Now, Montreal Canadiens here in this trade would receive Jaromir Jagr. And this is important because they have two young players in Alex Galchenyuk and Brendan Gallagher, 19 and 20 years old respectively. They're playing great right now in the regular season, but listen, the postseason is a completely different beast. We've seen this with the Boston Bruins in 2011 when Tyler Seguin was a rookie. They brought him in slowly. They didn't rush him into the postseason. They let him sit and watch and learn a little bit because it's a completely different feel of hockey now. That is why Jaromir Jagr is such a big help for this team. Bring someone in who can be a leadership presence now. Dallas Stars. He's an unrestricted free agent. You're not going to bring him back. Get whatever you can for him. Get whatever pick you can for him and help the rebuilding process. He's not someone who's in your future plans. It is an easy trade for both sides. Now, my last trade. It involves the Vancouver Canucks and the Buffalo Sabres. Now, the Vancouver Canucks are clearly the buyers in this situation. They need grit, as I said earlier. They need nastiness, and Robin Regehr is nothing but nasty. This is a blue-collar, blue-chip defenseman who wants to run people through the boards. That's exactly what this team needs. They need someone who can be a leader for this team because the Sedin sisters are not getting it done. Roberto Luongo is not getting it done. They need a true leader, and Robin Regehr is their guy. Now listen, they do have to send off a second-round pick to make this happen. And quite frankly, that's not too much to give up. And the Buffalo Sabres, he's an unrestricted free agent anyway. He's worn out his welcome there. You don't want him back. Start to rebuild around Tyler Myers. He is the key to that franchise. In my eyes, anyone else in that team is expendable. Trade them. Even Ryan Miller, send him out the door. Build around Tyler Myers. Hey, this has been fun, but we're all out of time for this NHL matchmaking block. But remember, the trade deadline is April 3rd, and hopefully your team will emerge as a winner. But hey, stay tuned because coming up next, Joe and I will sit down with our NFL experts to try to make sense of what has been a crazy free agency. You're watching 101 Sports.